police detained more than 200 tourists, most of them Chinese, in a drug bust at an illegal karaoke bar in Bangkok.
Dazed and confused, hunters, party debris littered around them, are seen huddled under bright lights at the Sathorn district venue. More details on this later in the news. Good evening. I'm CJ Hero.
And I am Nina Richie Alagaw Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. Hospitals, old churches, and other structures are damaged after a strong 6.4 magnitude earthquake hit Abra and other provinces in northern Luzon. Tropical depression Paeng continues its strength while moving over the Philippine Sea and is forecasted to intensify to tropical storm on Thursday, October 27. Cyclone Sitrang hits Bangladesh, leaves with 28 casualties and 1 million more displaced. 11 children perished after a fire hits Ugandan school for the blind. And newly installed British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak unveils members of his new team. A 6.4 magnitude earthquake rocked the northern Philippines late Tuesday, with the epicenter located at Lagayan, Abra. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology said the tremor, which is tectonic in origin, was also felt as far as Metro Manila, 330 kilometers from the south. Authorities said aftershocks are felt hours after the strong quake, which injured at least 6 people in Abra and caused substantial damage to a hospital and several old churches. The mayor's office in a high school building in Lagayan, Abra were sealed off after they sustained cracks and broken glass windows, as shown in the photos posted on the town's official FB page. In the city of Batak, Ilocos Norte, several patients spent most of the night outside Don Mariano Marcos Hospital after the ceiling collapsed on several rooms and damaged equipment. A rock slide temporarily blocked a road linking Batak to the nearby town of Bana, but rescue officials said the landslide had been cleared. The Civil Defense Office in the region said several old churches in Abra and Ilocos Norte also sustained damage. Ilocos Norte Governor Matthew Manotoc declared a school holiday and government workers were told not to report for work as the authorities inspected the integrity of the buildings.
At least 10 people were reported injured in the magnitude 6.4 quake that rocked Abra Tuesday evening. About 50 houses were damaged, while 58 schools were reportedly ruined during last night's tremor. Mark Gabriel has the details.
According to PHIVOLC's updated advisory, a 6.4 magnitude earthquake hit the province of Abra at 10:59 p.m. last night. The tectonic earthquake was also felt in regions 1, 2, and Cordillera. The epicenter of the earthquake was located in Lagayan, Abra. It has a depth of focus of 11 kilometers. Based on the data gathered by the 5th Infantry Division of the Philippine Army, 10 individuals were injured. 5 of the victims came from Lagayan, 3 from San Juan, 1 from Daguioman, and the last one was from San Quintin, Abra. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC, is still validating the said information. Based on the Philippine Army data, 47 homes were recorded injured from various towns in Abra, 6 of which were seriously damaged. About 52 families or 182 individuals were brought to evacuation centers of Tubo, Abra. The Department of Public Works and Highways is also conducting building assessments to determine if residents can return to their homes. Around 58 schools were destroyed due to the last night's tremor. Authorities said that they gave the DepEd the task of ensuring that the schools will be safe since aftershocks are expected. Meanwhile, due to the earthquake and the looming arrival of Typhoon Paeng in Luzon, the NDRRMC issued a red alert status. Mar Gabriel, reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Marcos administration is seriously monitoring the situation in areas affected by a magnitude 6.4 quake in Abra and other parts of northern Luzon. The president said the government is focusing on the important part of the relief needed by residents, which is shelter. Eden Santos has the details.
The government is prioritizing providing temporary shelter for the residents affected by the magnitude 6.4 earthquake that jolted Abra and other provinces of northern Luzon. In a chance interview with Palace reporters, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said food is not a critical problem in the relief operation, but it's shelter. The president assured the affected communities that help would come, especially shelters as most of the houses in Abra are damaged by the tremor.
Ang hinihingi ng karamihan ay tent. And the reason why is ayaw nilang, natatakot silang bumalik sa bahay nila. Baka pag mag-aftershock, tapos mahina na yung bahay nila, masaktan sila. So that we're monitoring that we do not have a critical problem when it comes to food, maybe shelter. That is the most important part of the relief that we have to provide now for the people affected by the earthquake last night.
Marcos added that all schools in the affected province are closed for the day until the integrity of the structures is inspected. The president said it is important to ensure the safety of the learners.
So the schools have closed for the day hanggat matiyak na lahat ng mga school building ay safe para sa mga bata. So that was the first concern.
Marcos added that based on their monitoring, the power supply are already restored in Ilocos Norte and Ilocos Sur and in other areas in Abra. Eden Santos reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Pagasa announced that Tropical Depression Paeng has maintained its strength while moving westward over the Philippine Sea. In its severe weather bulletin released at 5 p.m., Paeng was sighted 945 kilometers east of eastern Visayas with maximum sustained winds of 45 kilometers per hour near the center, gustiness of up to 55 kilometers per hour, and a central pressure of 1,004 HPA. At present, Paeng is moving 10 kilometers per hour westward. It also had strong winds that extended outwards up to 300 kilometers from the center. Pagasa has not hoisted any tropical cyclone wind signal or TCWS in any area. Yet the Weather Bureau said TCWS may be raised for some areas in eastern Visayas and Bicol region tomorrow morning. It added that based on the latest track and intensity forecast, the most likely highest wind signal that will be hoisted is wind signal number 4. Heavy rains are expected to pour over Quezon, Bicol region, Visayas, and the northern and western portions of Mindanao due to the shear line and the trough of Typhoon Depression Paeng.
The COVID-19 infections in the National Capital Region, or NCR, are now on a downward trend. In its monitoring, the Octa Research Group said the new cases is declining since the start of October. In a tweet, Octa fellow Dr. Guido David took note of NCR's new cases that went down to 248 on October 25 compared to 1,719 on October 1. The 7-day average of new cases also decreased to 491 from October 19 to 25 from 807 from October 12 to 18. Metro Manila's one-week growth rate of infection is also dipped to negative 39% from the previous negative 7%. A reproduction number that is below 1 indicates that the transmission of the virus is slowing down. NCR's positivity rate also decreased from 14.6% on October 17 to 11.6% on October 24. David said the September wave was likely driven by XBB or XBC variants. He hopes the downtrend continues until the holidays. Meanwhile, the Department of Health reported 1,121 new COVID-19 cases, bringing the active tally to 21,325. As of today, the nationwide caseload is at 3,997,941.
Lawmakers from the House of Representatives have expressed their support to the Marcos administration's relaxation of the face mask policy. They believe the decision would help the tourism and economic sectors recover from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Vic Sumintak reports.
3 lawmakers from the House of Representatives are convinced that the tourism industry and other businesses in the country would prosper with the Marcos administration's new policy to make face mask wearing voluntary in indoor settings. Congressman Reynan Arrogancia, House Committee on Appropriations Chairman, and ako Bicol Party List Representative Elizalde Co, and House Deputy Majority Leader and ang Provinciano Party List Representative Alfred de los Santos throw their full support to President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s decision. The lawmakers said the country is a bit late in relaxing its safety protocols since the latest COVID-19 bulletin shows that virus infections are limited amid new variants present in the country. What needs to be done right now is the intensification of the vaccination campaign against COVID-19, especially for booster shots. To facilitate the vaccination process, the lawmakers suggested the establishment of vaccination areas in every barangay health centers, transport hubs, and malls. They said walk-ins should also be allowed. The 3 also urged the issuance of an executive order to oblige unvaccinated senior citizens and individuals with comorbidities to continue wearing face masks as their sector remains vulnerable to COVID-19 infection. Vic Sumintak reporting for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has defended the wisdom behind his appointment of a retired general to the Department of Health and a film director as part of his administration. Vin Pascua reports.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has stood by his decision to appoint retired Philippine National Police Chief General Camilo Cascolan as Undersecretary for Special Concerns at the Department of Health, as well as the appointment of film director Paul Soriano as Presidential Advisor for Creative Communications. In an interview with Palace reporters, the chief executive said Cascolan's mandate is to look into the department's structural reform and other administrative matters. Critics have questioned his appointment to Cascolan, saying the latter is not qualified to be in the DOH.
Of course, he's not a doctor, and it's not health issues that he has to look at. That's why he doesn't have to be a doctor. He's going to look at the function of the DOH. We talk about right sizing. We talk about structural changes. We need somebody to examine what has been going on, ano yung maganda, ano yung hindi maganda, ano yung pwedeng mas maayos. That will be his function, kaya special concern.
As far as his appointment to film director Paul Soriano, Marcos clarified that his appointment does not mean he will be part of the government's PR machine. The president said his appointment as PA for Creative Communications is to help uplift the creative industry, thus promoting the country's tourism as a whole.
Yung kay Paul Soriano, people have misunderstood. He's not there to be part of the PR machine. He's there to find ways to promote the creative industry. Kasi doon siya galing eh. So, pinagmamalaki na, kasama yan sa tourism. Pinagmamalaki natin ang gagaling kumanta ng Pilipino, ang gagaling umarte, ang gagaling gumawa ng sine, etc., etc. We have to project that to the rest of the world. Yan ang trabaho ni Paul. So, I hope that clarifies that.
Critics take note of what they allege to be the president's move of gradually appointing retired military and police generals in government positions. So far, the president has appointed retired AFP Chief of Staff General Jose Faustino as Senior Undersecretary and Officer in Charge at the Department of National Defense, retired Police General Moro Virgilio Lazo as the new chief of the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency or PIDEA. Retired Major General Juvie Max Uy as Deputy Commissioner at the Bureau of Customs, and recently Kaskolan at the Department of Health. The practice of appointing retired military and police officials to key positions in the government is nothing new, as it was also done during the time of former Presidents Fidel V. Ramos, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, and Rodrigo Duterte. I am Vin Pascua reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Department of Justice has identified 8 persons of interest in the Percy Lapid Slay case. The department's Witness Protection Program, or WPP, now covers another 2 witnesses in the case. Meanwhile, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said he is doubtful if the middleman on the case died of natural causes. Nadine Aguilar has the details.
Authorities have in their custody 8 persons of interest in the slaying of broadcast journalist Percival Mabasa or Percy Lapid. These include the persons of interest in the death of beloved inmate June Villamor, who is said to be the middleman in the Lapid's assassination. Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Rimulya said 3 are in PNP's custody and the other 3 with the NBI. Another person of interest is in military facility and the other 1 is still with the Bureau of Corrections. Rimulya said these numbers may add up.
But I'm leaving it up to the NBI and the PNP to conduct the examinations. I'm asking the NBI also to give way to the PNP to be able to, so they can work together, so they can share the witness that we put under custody, because this is supposed to be for the prosecution of a crime committed.
Rimulya said the authorities are determined to find out who is the mastermind in the crime. Currently, they have names that may possibly be the person behind Lapid's killing.
We are determined to find out if there's anybody else influencing this case from a higher level.
Rimulya confirmed that another sibling of June Villamor has been enrolled in the Witness Protection Program, bringing the witness in the program to 2. He said Villamor sent a chat message with them before he died inside the prison.
I spoke to him just the other day. At sabi ko, gumamit na siya ng K9 units. Mag-procure siya ng K9 units so that we will sniff out everything that has to be sniffed out of this place. Makakasigurado kayo doon, no?
The president said the toxicology report showed that there is no foul play on the death of the middleman in the case. But he still doubts if the inmate died of a natural cause.
Tora Fortune, she will come up with the written result, with the write-up by Friday. So please don't just give her the time to prepare for the written results of the autopsy.
Rimulya said the result of the second autopsy report on Villamor would be out on Friday, October 28. Nadine Aguilar, reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Coming up, 28 dead, millions seek shelter as Cyclone Sitrang hits Bangladesh. 11 pupils die in blaze at Ugandan school for blind. And U.S. President Joe Biden gets updated COVID booster shot. More news from around the globe when Mata ng Agila International returns.
Doing business in the Philippines is an opportunity it is a signal to the world that we are open for business.
Tutukan ang mga makabuluhang balita sa Mata ng Agila Weekend. Ihahatid ng broadcast journalist na si Wedge Kujama.
Na maging 20 pesos per kilo ang bigas, probado na ng LTFRB ang taas pasay sa
Tuwing Sabado, alas 5:30 hanggang alas 6 ng gabi. Mata ng Agila Weekend. Matatag, matapang, matapat.
This portion is brought to you by
The news continues here on Mata ng Agila International. In Bangladesh, at least 28 people are dead after Cyclone Sitrang slammed into the country, forcing the evacuation of about 1 million people from their homes. Cyclones, the equivalent of hurricanes in the Atlantic or typhoons in the Pacific, are normal in the region. But scientists say climate change is likely making them more intense and frequent. Sitrang made landfall in southern Bangladesh late Monday, but authorities managed to get about 1 million people to safety before the monster weather system hit. Around 10 million people are without power in districts along the coast on Tuesday. Schools are shut across much of the country's south. Officials say most of those who died were hit by falling trees. 2 died in the north on the Jamuna River when their boat sank in squally weather. People evacuated from low-lying regions such as remote islands and riverbanks have been moved to thousands of multi-story cyclone shelters.
11 pupils at a school for the blind in Uganda burned to death after a fire tore through their dormitory in the early hours of Tuesday. The children were sleeping when the fire started. The deadly fire happened at 1 a.m. Monday at the Salama School for the Blind in the district of Mukono, east of the capital, Kampala. According to a government official, the windows of a building had been made burglar-proof. The children, all girls, were trapped inside and were unable to escape. Presidential Representative Fatuma Indibasa said the victims were burned beyond recognition and a DNA test is needed to establish their identities. Indibasa said the dormitory was housing 21 girls. 3 managed to escape. 6 are in the hospital with serious injuries, while another girl had a minor injury.
UK's new Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has named his top team of familiar faces to help steer the country through the economic crisis. Addressing the nation in Downing Street Tuesday, shortly after his appointment by King Charles III, Sunak says the country faced a profound economic crisis. He says economic stability and confidence will be at the heart of his government's agenda. In his first order of business, Sunak retains Jeremy Hunt as Chancellor of the Exchequer, bidding to keep financial markets on the side after Truss's budget plans shocked investors. He also retained Truss's foreign and defense ministers. In other cabinet designations, Sunak retains James Cleverly as foreign secretary, Ben Wallace in the defense brief, and Kemi Badenoch in international trade. Hardline right-winger Suella Braverman was reappointed as interior minister in charge of policing and immigration control. Grant Shapps, who had briefly replaced Braverman at the Home Office, was named business secretary with partial oversight of climate policy. Sunak brings close ally Dominic Raab back as deputy prime minister and justice secretary. Penny Mordaunt remains as leader of the House of Commons.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has confirmed his phone conversation with new British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Zelensky said that he is hopeful that the partnership between Ukraine and the United Kingdom will continue to strengthen under Sunak's premiership.
Якраз перед тим, як записувати це звернення, говорив з новим прем'єр-міністром Британії Ріші Сунаком. Вірю, що партнерство між нашими державами і вже традиційне британське лідерство у захисті демократії і свободи і надалі будуть лише посилюватись.
At least 80 people, including singers and musicians, were killed after Myanmar's military launched airstrikes at an anniversary celebration of the Kachin ethnic minority's main political organization. Members of the group and a rescue worker said the incident happened Sunday night. The recent strikes have the most casualties in a single air attack since the military seized power in February 2021 from the administration of Aung San Suu Kyi. The military said the attack was a necessary operation in response to the terrorist acts carried out by the Kachin group. Kachin is one of the stronger ethnic rebel groups capable of producing their own armaments, with the alliance to armed militias to fight army rule. The United Nations has expressed its deep concern to the security forces who excessively used their force against unarmed civilians. Moreover, the UN said those responsible must be held accountable.
The United States, Japan, and South Korea warned that a North Korean nuclear test would warrant an unprecedented strong response, vowing unity after a blitz of missile launches from the hermit state. According to South Korean First Vice Foreign Minister Cho Hyun-dong, the three countries agreed on the need for an unprecedented strong response if North Korea proceeds with its seventh nuclear test. U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman added that the three nations discussed their cooperation on shared challenges in the Indo-Pacific and beyond, which includes working together to advance their shared goal of full denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Sherman pointed out the serious threat posed to Japanese people when North Korea launched an unprecedented number of ballistic missiles, one of which flew over Japan that seems as a preparation for the usage of tactical nuclear weapons. For his part, Japan's Vice Foreign Minister Takeo Mori said that they renewed their recognition of North Korea's intensified nuclear and missile activities, which signifies a clear and serious challenge to the international community. On behalf of China, China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin said that their country hopes that the relevant sides will face up to the root causes and details of the long-standing stalemate on the Korean Peninsula. Wenbin also seeks some actions that will enhance mutual trust and resolve the concerns of all parties in a balanced manner.
Shanghai City started administering an inhalable COVID-19 vaccine today in what appears to be a world first. According to an announcement posted on an official city social media account, the vaccine is a mist that is sucked in through the mouth for 5 seconds. A video was also posted on Weibo showing people at a community health center lining up for the inhalable vaccine. The caption said the entire procedure is completed in 20 seconds. A resident said it was like drinking a cup of milk tea, and when he breathed the vaccine in, it tasted a bit sweet. At the moment, it is also being offered for free as a booster dose for previously vaccinated individuals. An expert said a vaccine taken in the mouth could also fend off the virus before it reaches the rest of the respiratory system, but that would depend in part on the size of the droplets. The inhalable COVID-19 vaccine was developed by the Chinese biopharmaceutical company CanSino Biologics. State health regulators approved the vaccine for use as a booster in September. Though China does not have vaccine mandates, it wants more people to get booster shots before it relaxes its pandemic restrictions and strict lockdowns.
The Universal Resort theme park in Beijing has temporarily closed due to COVID-19 preventive measures. According to health authorities, Beijing recently logged 19 symptomatic COVID infections and 1 asymptomatic case. Though the park did not announce when it would reopen, it pledged to refund or reschedule tickets. Some users on Weibo took issue with the short notice given to customers by the company. The management said the theme park will be deep cleaned and disinfected. Nucleic acid testing will also be conducted to prevent and control the spread of the COVID virus. This is the second time the theme park has been forced to close its gates this year. It was shut from the start of May for 6 weeks due to COVID measures.
U.S. President Joe Biden gets an updated COVID-19 vaccine booster shot and urges Americans to follow his example ahead of winter. Biden says no one needs to die anymore from the once devastating virus.
We still have hundreds of people dying each day from COVID in this country, hundreds. That number is likely to rise this winter. But this year is different from the past. This year, nearly every death is preventable. Let me say it again. Nearly every death is preventable. So get get your updated COVID shot. I'm here today with
79-year-old Biden contracted the coronavirus 3 months ago with mild symptoms. He received his second booster shot for the vaccine at the end of March. His updated shot, given in front of journalists at the White House, targets 2 subvariants of the virus. Biden announced efforts are being done to get more Americans boosted with a new version of the vaccine ahead of major holiday travel periods at Thanksgiving and at the end of the year.
And we're here with a simple message. Get vaccinated. Update your COVID vaccine. It's incredibly effective, but the truth is not enough people are getting it. We've got to change that, so we can all have a safe and healthy holiday season. Good afternoon.
Biden said the government and major pharmacy chains, whose heads joined him on stage to witness the injection, were working together to make sure that the booster is widely available and free of charge. Addressing the long history of political splits on the vaccination issue, Biden pleaded for Americans to start fresh as a country, put all the old battles over COVID behind them, and put all the partisan politics aside.
We have the tools. We have the vaccines. We have the treatments. None of this is about politics. It's about your health, the health of your loved ones.
Up next, Bosnian Serb leader leads mass rally against vote recount. 200 tourists nabbed in karaoke bar drug bust in Bangkok. And 3 of the world's top organizations call for increased investment in universal access to safe drinking water. All these and more when Matang Agila International returns.
Abangan sa Linggo, isang nakakatuwang kwentuhan kasama ang pinakabagong MTRCB chairwoman, Miss Lala Soto.
Meron ako one and only movie. Ano say mo?
You think you wanna give showbiz a try again in the future?
Never.
Kahit sitcom, ayaw mo.
Tinuldo ka, never. So, nandun talaga yung heart ko na sa public service.
Kita-kit sa Linggo, 4 to 5 p.m. Dito lang sa Moments on Net 25.
Sa gitna ng kontrobersya, eksklusibo nating makakapanayam si DOJ Secretary Crispin Jesus Boy Remulla. Abangan sa Counterpoint, Miyerkules, alas 10:30 ng gabi, dito sa Net 25. When you heard what happened to your son, ano po ba naging reaction niyo?
This portion is brought to you by Source Alliance.
Bosnian Serb political leader Milorad Dodik gathered tens of thousands of supporters at a rally in Banja Luka, marking a show of strength against an election vote recount after the opposition cried foul. A recount of the presidential vote in the Republika Srpska, ordered by Bosnia's Central Commission, was held on October 2. This preliminary count tallied 48% of the vote for Dodik, while only 43% for opposition candidate Jelena Trivic, who then accused Dodik and his party of organized plundering of the elections. The opposition is calling for a fresh election, which Dodik is likely to refuse. Dodik is seeking his third term as the president of the RS after completing a stint in the tripartite presidency.
Tu sam večeras ovde da vam kažem, Milorad Dodik nikuda neće odavde. Milorad Dodik će veoma brzo u predsjedničku palatu. Tamo će...
Israel detained 3 alleged members of the Lion's Den militant group in the occupied West Bank. Authorities said the arrested group included Muhammad al-Nabulsi, the brother of a key Palestinian militant. The army said that al-Nabulsi was suspected of possessing weapons, manufacturing explosive devices, and involvement in the Lion's Den terrorist group. His brother, Ibrahim al-Nabulsi, nicknamed the Lion of Nablus, was shot dead by Israeli forces in August and has since become a folk hero among the Palestinian youth. This month, 25 Palestinians have been killed in East Jerusalem and the West Bank, territories occupied by Israel since the 1967 Six-Day War.
Thai police detained more than 200 tourists in a drug bust at an illegal karaoke bar in Bangkok on Wednesday. Majority of those involved were Chinese nationals, identified as users of illegal substances after urine tests were conducted. Thai police discovered that the entertainment venue in Sathorn district engaged in selling drugs to customers. There is also a drug deposit service allowing customers to gamble without hesitation that they will be caught by the authorities. Authorities have confiscated drug like ketamine, traces of MMDA, methamphetamine, and diazepam. 237 Chinese tourists, along with 29 Cambodian tourists, were detained, and Thai police will subject them to further tests to identify other illegal substances used by the tourists.
High Commissioner for Refugees Filippo Grandi says the United Nations Refugee Agency is looking very closely at the first formal peace talks between the warring sides in Ethiopia's conflict. Grandi implores rivals to seize the opportunity for peace in the face of what he calls a very worrying humanitarian situation.
The one word that describes our access to people in need, in Tigray in particular, is very limited. And it is very limited because of fighting, essentially, between the TPLF and the Federal Army. Through a lot of negotiation with both sides, we had expanded access. But the moment the hostilities resumed, that access has dramatically reduced. And not only that, but you have a lot more displacement. So the two things go in opposite direction: less access and more needs.
Grandi says they are very worried and are looking very eagerly at Pretoria in South Africa for the talks. He says talks are the only way forward and that if the parties do not really engage meaningfully in a negotiated solution, the situation will not change.
3 of the world's top organizations call for universal access to safe drinking water, saying it is a human right. Jeff Sanidad reports.
According to the State of the World's Drinking Water Report, 2 billion people have gained access to safe drinking water in the past 20 years. However, the report also says that despite this progress, this number also means that a quarter of the world's population is still left behind. Water insecurity is experienced by communities worldwide, and climate change is not helping. The report notes that rapid urbanization is increasing the strain on cities' capacity to deliver water to the millions of people living in informal communities and slums. Director of World Health Organization Department of Environment, Climate Change and Health, Dr. Maria Neira says access to safe drinking water is a human right, not a luxury. Saraj Kumar Jha of the World Bank's Group's Water Global Practice says investing in water and sanitation is critical to health, economic growth, and the environment. UNICEF Interim Director of Water, Sanitation and Hygiene, Aidan Cronin, says no child should be faced with a choice of drinking dirty water, a leading killer of children, or making dangerous journeys to collect water and missing out on school. The report presents the data on the links between water, health, and development and the status of drinking water. It provides actionable recommendations to accelerate access to safe drinking water. To provide universal access to safe drinking water by 2030, the report calls on governments and their partners to dramatically increase political commitment to drinking water and quadruple their investments. Jeff Sanidad, Washington, D.C., Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The New York State Supreme Court has reinstated all employees who were fired for not being vaccinated. The High Court also ordered back pay and said the rights of the employees were violated. It said that being vaccinated does not prevent an individual from contracting or transmitting COVID-19. Earlier this year, New York City Mayor Eric Adams claimed that his administration would not rehire employees who had been fired over their vaccination status. And the New York City alone fired roughly 1,400 employees for being unvaccinated earlier this year after the city adopted a vaccine mandate under former Mayor Bill de Blasio. Many of those fired were police officers and firefighters. FDNY Uniformed Fire Officers Association President Lieutenant James McCarthy hailed the court's decision. He said that putting hundreds of firefighters, police officers, and other emergency workers out of work is not in the best interest of the city.
I did it with a lot of nonpartisan ideas.
The turquoise glimmer of open-air pools contrasts sharply with the dazzling white of salt flats in Latin America's Lithium Triangle, where hope resides for a better life, fueled by a metal bonanza. Demands for lithium, a key component of batteries used in electric cars, have skyrocketed from Chile, Argentina, and Bolivia, having most of the white gold larger than anywhere else in the world. These growing demands equate to growing concerns regarding the effect on groundwater sources in regions already prone to extended droughts, with recent deaths of trees and flamingos. This is because lithium extraction requires millions of liters of water per plant per day.
No es como dice que ellos van a salvar el planeta. Salvarán el planeta, pero nos tienen que sacrificar a nosotros. Nosotros tenemos que dar la vida para salvar el planeta. No es así. Se puede vivir, porque el litio no comemos nosotros, la batería tampoco, y el agua sí lo tomamos, y el ser humano.
Coming up, Moldova bans crypto mining amid energy crisis. F1's Checo Perez performs exhibition drive ahead of Mexico GP. And Henry Cavill finally returns as Superman. Mata ng Agila International will return after the short break.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. May lalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
gitna ng kontrobersya, eksklusibo nating makakapanayam si DOJ Secretary Crispin Jesus Boy Remulla. Abangan sa Counterpoint, Miyerkules alas 10:30 ng gabi dito sa Net 25. When you heard what happened to your son, ano po ba naging reaction niyo?
You are still watching Mata ng Agila International. Germany's biggest lender, Deutsche Bank, said its third quarter net profit had risen more than fivefold year-on-year, far better than expected as a restructuring program bears fruit. The group's net profit from July to September gained 1.1 billion euros, which is significantly higher compared to last year's 194 million euros and the 809 million euros predicted forecast by analysts from FactSet. According to Deutsche Bank, revenues increased 15% annually, being driven by corporate banking, having another increase to 25%. Additionally, the company reported the progress of the investment banking division, which rose 6% to 2.4 billion euros. These transformations denote the impact of the bank's restructuring program back in July 2019.
Moldovan authorities have decided to entirely ban crypto mining in the country due to energy crisis. The decision was made at a meeting of the Commission on Energy Situations. The ban means that Moldova now prohibits crypto mining activities as well as the import of specialized equipment, irrespective of the location of the important company. Earlier, Moldovan President Maya Sandu ordered the government to take urgent measures to save electricity. The authorities were instructed to evaluate the impact of soaring energy prices on the population and the business environment to recommend cost compensation measures.
Mercedes-Benz announced its intention to withdraw from the Russian market and sell its shares to a local investor. The Russian Ministry of Industry and Trade said the new owner of the Russian divisions of the German car maker is Avtodom. The ministry said the transaction sale is expected to attract other companies as partners for joint productions. Meanwhile, a Mercedes spokesperson said the company's stake in Russian truck maker Kamaz would not be affected by the intended transaction. The German luxury car maker is the latest automaker to exit since Moscow sent its troops to Kyiv. Other automakers that pulled out from Russia due to its military operations in Ukraine were AB Volvo, Ford Motor Company, and Renault.
French Interior Minister Gérald Darmanin announces before the Senate that a total of 600,000 people will be able to attend the opening ceremony of the 2024 Olympic Games on the Seine in Paris. Darmanin mentioned what he calls enormous problems of public order if things are to go wrong during the Games, since there are places not easy to secure, including bridges, footbridges, and quays. The official says quays are sometimes wide and sometimes narrow, with two islands in the middle that must be secured. With the influx of spectators, Darmanin admitted that it will be a challenge to get to people who actually live there in case of an emergency. He also expressed concern about the official tribune at the foot of the Eiffel Tower that will include a delegation of heads of state who will also require a certain amount of security, transport, and travel.
All Blacks Sam Whitelock followed his New Zealand tour squad in Japan after he experienced trouble while playing with his children on a trampoline. This Saturday, the All Blacks team is set to face Japan for their first game in the Northern Hemisphere tour, but veteran second-row forward Whitelock needed to stay behind after his balance was affected by his bouncy antics. According to Whitelock, little crystals on his inner ears made him feel a weird feeling where he suddenly lost his balance and see a blurred vision. He admitted that to correct his problems, he took 5 days to rest and soon underwent 2 different underwent different protocols and exercises. Whitelock looks forward to getting back to the team and into some contact.
Around 130,000 fans gathered to watch an exhibition drive by F1 Mexican driver Sergio Checo Perez. Perez was aboard a RB7 car, a model used by the Red Bull team in the 2011 season, when its drivers were the German Sebastian Vettel and the Australian Mark Webber. Though the 32-year-old made his entrance before lunch, hundreds of people camped at the site since Monday night. Ivan Tovar arrived at midnight and brought blankets and pillows to stay in line to see Perez making spins and punishing tires inside the track. Ricardo Rios arrived with a ladder to see his favorite F1 driver unobstructed and free of ticket charge. Esteban Martinez said seeing Perez putting Mexico country on top makes one feel proud as they form part of the history. Perez is currently third with 265 points to Ferrari's Monegasque driver Charles Leclerc, who is in second place. The famous Mexican driver will participate in this weekend's Mexico City Grand Prix.
After years of fan-making theories and speculations, Henry Cavill officially announced he is back as Superman. The actor shared the good news via his Instagram, confirming his commitment to play the Man of Steel in future DC films. Cavill also made a surprise scene in the mid-credit scene of Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam film. The cameo marked his first time in the role since 2017's Justice League. The 39-year-old actor gave no further details, but he did thank the fans for their excited response to his return as the red-caped superhero.
Taylor Swift's Midnights is already breaking records. According to Billboard's, Midnights has sold more than 1.2 million album units in the U.S. 3 days after its release on October 21. Midnights holds the title of having the largest overall week by equivalent album units compared to any album that Swift released after her Reputation album in 2017. As of now, Swift's album already generated 284 million on-demand audio and video official streams, and its tracking week will end on October 27.
For 16 years, Jorge Ivan Salazar has been collecting editions of the famous novel by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, 100 Years of Solitude. From his private library in the Colombian city of Armenia, lined with meticulously organized books, Salazar shows the covers of the most valuable copies. Take a look. Some of the copies are illustrated with paintings by famous European artists. The novel counts 379 editions translated into 48 languages, including Tamil, Armenian, and Azeri. Although the Nobel Prize-winning author opposed to bringing 100 Years of Solitude to the screen during his lifetime, the Netflix platform will soon release the series of the work. This has the approval of the Garcia family.
Como huevos prehistóricos.
Let us now get our daily dose of history by looking back on some events on this day, October 26. In 1947, Hillary Clinton, an American politician, the 67th United States Secretary of State and 44th First Lady of the United States, was born. In 1972, the first truly instant camera, the Polaroid SX70 camera, was made available to the public at an event in Miami, Florida. And in 2017, Jacinda Ardern was sworn in as Prime Minister of New Zealand, becoming the world's youngest female head of government at age 37.
It's Wednesday, and to help you go through this week, here's a quote from Michelle Ruiz, an award-winning broadcast journalist. If people are doubting how far you can go, go so far that you can't hear them anymore.
That's one way to go. I love that. So you don't hear them, just go as far as you can.
Exactly.
And that is a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am CJ Hero.
And I am Nina Richie Alagao Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.